to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today's show is one of those fantastic reminders of just how much we are actually in the driver's seat when it comes to the success or failure of our own businesses. Dala Al Fuwaires joins me today. Dala is the principal of FJI, a hospitality design firm located in Scottsdale, Arizona. Her bio explains FJI is a firm with a sweet spot for food and beverage interiors, and that Dala is a dreamer, a designer, and a doer. And I'm pretty sure that after you listen to this show, you'll know exactly just how true these words are. Dala has over a decade of experience in the interior design field, working on hospitality, retail, and residential design projects ranging in size from boutique to national rollouts. Her firm, FJI, is just a couple of years old, and in her first year, she earned a six-figure income. Yes, you heard me right. Dala teased me with that line when she pitched to me to be on the show, and yes, that is exactly the kind of thing that grabs my attention. So I'm sure you're going to love meeting Dala. And before we do that, let me just remind you that the show is sponsored by Article.com, your online resource for modern mid-century Scandinavian-inspired furniture, including sofas, chairs, office furniture, and outdoor furniture. What I want you to do is look into their delivery and return policy. I mean, right there. Once you investigate that, if that doesn't convince you right then and there to sign up for a trade account, I'm not sure what would. So for more information, go to welldesigned.article.com and be sure to tell them that you heard about them from me. Another thing before I introduce you to Dala, our other sponsor, Kravit, is hosting the third birthday party for the podcast. Yes, it is. Whoop, whoop. So if you are in the New York, New Jersey area, or maybe you're coming into town for New York now, the first week of February, or you just want to come into town for the party, please do that. Please join us on February 5th at the Kravit showroom in the D&D building from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. For all the details and the link for the RSVP, it's absolutely free. But Kravit does need to know how many of us to prepare for, okay? So the RSVP link and the Eventbrite link and all of that is on my website, luannigara.com. LUANNNIGARA.com. All right, click on the events tab and you'll find the birthday party RSVP, okay? All righty, now let's meet Dala. Hi, Dala. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. You know, I listened to your podcast on my way to work, and it feels pretty surreal that I'm sitting in my office talking to you right now.
That's funny. I had that experience recently myself, Dala. I interviewed Nancy Holla from the podcast This Is 50, and I was doing the same thing. I'm sitting there going, I'm talking to her.
Yeah. It's exciting.
It's fun, right?
Yes.
That's the cool thing about this day and age that, people that you feel like you know from afar, you actually can then get to know them.
Right. Now I just have to meet you in person.
That's it. Well, you know what? We've already been talking about that. I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag on that. I learned that you are originally from Kuwait, and I have this strange, odd calling to speak in some design form in Dubai. And so we've decided we have to do this together, right?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Let's make that a 2019 goal.
That's it. It is the funniest thing. I put it on my vision board in 2015 or 16. And everybody that knows me is like, what's that doing there? I'm like, I don't know. I just see it. I just feel it.
That's great. Yes. I'll be your translator on the trip.
That's it. So anyway, so here we are. And I'm so glad that we started communicating and you reached out to me on Instagram, because you mentioned how there aren't a lot of podcast episodes on my show that talk to commercial or hospitality design. And it's true. There is this overwhelming slant to residential, and it's not for a reason by design on my part. It's just, a lack of awareness of who to reach out to, or for commercial designers reaching out to me. And so I'm so happy that you did. And I love your work and your portfolio. And while you are a commercial designer, you now have started to really niche and focus your design into the food and beverage industry, right, Dala?
That's correct. I would say about 60% of our business is food and beverage related. So restaurants, bars, coffee shops, etc.
Right. And it's a beautiful, like I said, it's a beautiful portfolio. Very, you know what the word I get is every project seems to have a vibe. Like that's the word I get, a vibe. It's not just a restaurant.
I love that. I actually love hearing that, because a lot of people will ask, what is your style? Do you have a distinguished style? And my hope is that I do, but I don't, because I want each project to be its own thing.
Right. Well, you're doing it. You're achieving it. And that's why I think the word vibe came to mind, because it's exactly as you described. It's not that everyone has a look that's similar to each other, but they all have a feeling I'm so critical of restaurant design personally. I have said on the show before, when I interviewed Chris Kafitas, as a matter of fact, because he designed some of the highest end restaurants in the country. Catch in, I think there's one in New York that he designed. I think there's one in Florida, Miami possibly. But we're talking about like really super large commercial restaurants, but that are very high end, very, boutique-y feeling, even though given their size, right? And I said to him that I am such a person who, if the lighting and the decor in a restaurant are not good, and I don't mean, 5-star Michelin, I mean the joint that I go to on Friday night after work with my husband to have a glass of wine and a roast beef sandwich, right? If the vibe and the decor and the lighting are not good, I don't care if the food is good. I will not go back.
Right. And the music is a big thing, too.
That's right. And the thing is, there's so many places. That's so funny that you mentioned that, because the one place that we go most Friday nights, particularly, obviously, the food, decor, the lighting is good, but they have good music. And there's another place. I'm totally going down a tangent here, but I just think it's so important for restaurant design. There's another place that we go to that's near our beach house, and the food is legitimately ordinary, like legitimately ordinary. But here's the two things. The lighting is good. The decor is average to good, okay? But it has a feeling, a vibe to it, okay? The bartenders know us, and they have a jukebox. And so I will have a stupid turkey burger there every week with extra pickles and salad on the side, because I get those other things. It's like the only thing on their menu that I like.
Right. You know what's funny? Actually, every time we work on a new concept, we will develop a playlist on Spotify in the background. And then on the day of our concept presentation, we will have that playlist playing in the background to kind of set the tone.
That's smart. That's smart. You see, because that is the key to selling, right? You see, that's like for a lot of us, we just heard, oh, how fun. But what you need to hear in that sentence right there is that is one of the keys to persuasive selling. In your pitch right there, you're creating an experience for that restaurateur, and it includes them sitting there, seeing the mood boards and the different things that you've created for the vision for their restaurant, and that music coming in on the background. That's that second layer of, I like this, I can feel this, I want that, right?
Right. If I could have a bartender and a chef there too, I would totally do that.
Yes, because you're really creating an experience that they can visualize themselves in, and it makes it very powerful and very compelling for them. And what happens is if that experience, if that music and those visions that they're seeing that you're putting together are creating that I want this in them, they immediately transfer that, and that means I want Dala because she can do this for me.
That's correct.
What a great selling point. Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
Very cool. So we're going to, throughout our conversation, we're going to talk about some of the things that you specifically have to do as a commercial restaurant designer, right? So we'll bring those principles out, but we're also going to filter it through the fact that in your first year in business, you were profitable. And not every person, designer or other industry, is profitable their first year in business. And the ones that are, it's not usually by accident. It's usually by intention and with a plan. And when I asked you about that, you said, in fact, you did have a plan that you opened your business with. So tell me about this plan for opening your business and being intentional about making money.
Yes, absolutely. So just to preface this a little bit, I have been in the industry for about 12 years, designing mostly in Phoenix, Arizona. And I started my firm about 2.5 years ago. So I had a good database of people that I knew in the industry. So what I did when I decided to dive into owning my own studio was I spent the first week locked up in my office, reaching out to absolutely everybody that I had crossed paths with in the industry. This could have been reps, could have been coworkers, clients. But when it came to clients, I had to be cautious because I don't want to disrespect the relationship that they had built with the firm that I was at previously. So what I did was I reached out and I said, I just want to let you know that I'm off on my own and I respect the business that you've built. I would love any feedback or advice that you could give a young business owner who is about to take off on their own.
Nice. That's nice. Because you're not saying, come with me, leave the firm that I was at. You're just saying, I know of you, I know the relationship, I respect you, and do you have advice for me?
Yes. And they were actually, I was surprised at the number of responses and feedback and advice that I received. I think people love sharing knowledge and help when people ask for it.
And so did you sit and dial these phone calls? Did you sit and do emails? Did you do a combination based on your relationship with them? What was the specifics of it?
That's exactly it. A combination, phone call or email, just based on the type of relationship I had built with them.
Okay. And when you reached out, say, to reps, so here you have 12 years in the commercial design industry. So you're talking about your reps for the different furniture lines, your reps for the carpeting lines, your reps for the lighting and all of that.
Right.
And what was that conversation like? How did you open that?
So they actually are probably the best resource for any designer that's maybe trying to move from one firm to another, because you have to think about how many designers they have to visit on a daily basis. So they are very in tune with what's happening out there, who's hiring, what new projects are coming up, who needs a designer. And so they were actually a wonderful resource. And a couple of my first, I think, 3 or 4 projects did come directly from reps that I had worked with in the past.
Wow. That's amazing. So it's the sort of thing where they knew you, understood your work ethic, understood your capabilities. And when you said that you were on your own, maybe, are we talking about things like maybe the firm you were at, a project that a rep was available might have been too small for that firm, but maybe perfect for a newer startup firm? Is that the type of thing? Or they just thought your aesthetic would have been better?
Well, it was a combination of both, actually. I didn't mention the firms that I worked at, but I also reached out to them. And anytime a project came through that maybe wasn't the right fit, they would happily pass that on to me. So that's been wonderful.
That's awesome. I like that. That's, you know what, I remember Candy Scott mentioned that in her episode. And what she said, what reminds me of what she said there is she gets referrals from property management companies for big commercial projects, right? So maybe somebody is going to build a 350 apartment unit and it's going to have a lobby and amenity areas and all of that stuff. And sometimes when a design firm is recommended for a project, it would be too small for a bigger firm but just right for her size firm. And so having the relationships with the other commercial design firms was a positive thing, that it wasn't a competitive thing. You're in completely different levels, not better or worse, just the type of project that you take on. So that's interesting. So you reached out to previous employers, your coworkers, your previous coworkers, sales reps, and a carefully selected list of clients that you knew you could have a conversation with without damaging your reputation with your previous firms.
That's correct.
Love it.
Yes.
Okay. And so this took you, because I just really want to go down, because some people will think, okay, I'll make a couple calls. This took you how long, and about, could you estimate how many phone calls or emails in total you put out there?
Oh gosh, I would say I put in a week of 8 hours a day.
Whoa.
Yes. And a lot of it had, research time involved. If I had lost their contact, then I had to dig, use my professional Googling skills to track them down.
Where did you come up with this idea, Dala?
Honestly, nowhere. I think that when you just take the leap, you have to survive. And so you'll do whatever it takes. And that was, I think, what I thought was the best first step, was to reach out to the people that I already knew, as opposed to people I don't know.
Well, and you know what's funny too is, that's like grit. Okay, that's what that is. That's grit. I'm going to be in business. I'm going to be in charge of myself. I'm going to take responsibility for the success or failure of this firm. And if it's got a shot, I've got to give everything I've got to making it happen. And that's awesome. And I remember Claire Jefford was on the show, and she's an interior designer also and a business coach. And she also is she has a interior design Facebook group, Interior Design Business Strategies, I believe it's called. And she's a great leader for interior designers. And she, within a very short period of time of opening her interior design firm, was up, running, and busy. And she expressed also, now as a residential designer, she literally went up and down and put like a little flyer in every neighbor's mailbox. Hi, I'm Claire. I live around the corner. I have an interior design business. She told everybody at her kids' schools, the PTA people, the teachers, the realtors in the area, the stores in the area. And she didn't, she did what you did. She didn't say, well, I should probably let everybody I know, and then stop at like the first 5 phone calls. You know what I'm saying? Right.
That's great. And I really appreciate that.
Yes. So that's awesome that you did that too. It takes a commitment to do that when you think about, and somebody else might be side hustling, right? So you might be starting your interior design firm while you're still working. And so maybe you can't take 5 days, 8 hours a day to do it. But there's no time limit on this. You could take 2 hours a night for after your day job, 2 days a week. And if it takes you 8 weeks to do it, those 8 weeks are still going to pass.
Right.
I mean, there's no you jump started it, but the point is, and even again, to refer to Candy Scott, she calls it, I think she calls it dialing for dollars or dialing day, something like that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, yes. Every Friday, I believe it. Well, my day is Friday, so I don't remember if her day is Friday too, but we both do the same thing. I don't have the catchy name for it. I just call it, I was going to say, I just call it my follow-up day, but I could call it follow-up Friday. That's catchy, right?
Right. So my Fridays are financial Fridays.
Oh, isn't that funny? That's awesome. I love it. My husband's Fridays are financial Fridays. He does all the bill paying on Fridays. But anyway, so she does it every Friday, where she not only calls back all of the people that, are in the pipeline, or potentially in the pipeline, but, anything that just looking ahead, and somebody that maybe she hadn't spoken to in 6 or 8 months, and professional contacts and so forth, like you described. Right. So and very actionable. That's
brilliant, because, word of mouth leads dry up pretty quickly.
Right.
I mean, I think I started to notice after my first year that, oh, wow, I'm on my own now. I've got to find new ways to find business.
So. Right. And that's what she does. She keeps it alive by doing it every Friday, and the thing is, once you have a busy firm and you're doing, several hundreds of thousands a year, and you've got employees the way Candy does, maybe you're not going to spend 5 hours every Friday, but just 3 phone calls every Friday to your extended network of your sales reps, your past coworkers, past clients. And at that point, they're your past clients, so you can call them, right? Right. Intentional. I love it. It's awesome. Okay. And so what other things did you do, Dala, that first year?
Yeah. Okay. So the next two kind of go hand in hand. But once my word of mouth leads dried up, I joined a mastermind group, which is a group of like-minded people that get together to discuss ideas. And there's all kinds out there. But this particular one I joined, called High Stakes Mastermind Group, is based in Phoenix, and it's for female business owners. And I chose to join a group that was diverse, so nothing to do with interior design. We have a recruiter, we have a restaurant owner, I mean, extremely diverse group. And we get together every third Thursday and just discuss ideas, discuss ways to gain business, share any challenges we're having for the week, any wins. So it was that really awesome support group to have, especially as a new business owner. When you are the only individual on the team, you tend to live in a silo, which can get pretty lonely, and you need someone to hear you out. And that was my group of people. And that will kind of lead into the next thing. But I wanted to thank everybody that had sent business my way during that first year. And so I brought this up to my mastermind group and I said, what can I do? I feel like a thank you card is not enough, and they've changed my life. I've got to thank them some way. And so in our brainstorming session, we came up with the idea of pro bono work, which is pretty foreign for the design. So I said, okay, I need up until next Thursday to really think about this. I need to make this work. So I thought about it, and I came up with something called Design It Forward, which comes from the word pay it forward. And what I wanted to do was I wanted the industry to know that I was carving out a place in the industry for food and beverage design specifically. So I reached out to the community and I said, I'm going to be offering up our design services pro bono to one local food and beverage business. They've got to be new or growing. And so I put it out there and had several applicants the first year, picked a winner, and worked on a project that actually opened up not too long ago. And it was so exciting, not only because of the exposure I had to a lot of businesses, but also because some of the applicants that did not end up winning actually hired me anyway to complete their work.
That's awesome.
Right.
Now, so I love both of these ideas. Let's pick them apart a little bit. So first, back to the mastermind. So the mastermind, it sounds like you met in person as opposed to virtually.
That's correct. It is in person.
Okay. So, and of course, I run masterminds for interior designers where everybody in the group is in the same industry. And I absolutely believe in the value of both. Very cool on the mastermind. I think that takes a lot of commitment to do an in-person mastermind every week, every month, I mean to say. And it was a year-long commitment. Is that correct?
That's correct. And it's actually my second year in that group. So I just saw so much value in it that I decided to stay on for another year.
Very good. Love it. I love it. That's awesome. Terrific. Good for you. Okay. And now into this pro bono idea, the Design It Forward. Excellent idea. And so describe, I read it on your website. So describe for our friends listening, what is included that the winner receives once, and we'll go into how you selected and so forth, but tell us what the winner received.
Okay, so the winner receives essentially the concept phase of our design process. So that would be a fully developed concept, 3D renderings, a floor plan, a reflected ceiling plan, materials and finishes, and lighting selections.
Okay. And tell me, first of all, the restaurant has to be in your local area to where you live.
Right.
Okay. So it has to be placed, somebody that you can go to, blah, blah, blah. So give me an estimated idea from when you have your winner, how much time are you putting into the gift that you're giving them? Do you have a consultation meeting with them about their ideas? Like what is your time involvement?
Oh, that's a great question. So I actually decided with my team to treat this as any other project, as a paying client. Okay. So we devote the same amount of time that we would for any other concept, which is 40 to 80 hours.
Whoa. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
40 to 80 hours. And of course, the winner can take this and, execute it on their own level as a DIY and just use it as inspiration. Of course, they're never going to achieve it at the level that you would, but you know what I'm saying. It's like us taking something in a magazine and whatever, or they can even take it to a different designer to execute it. There's no strings attached. This is the gift.
Oh, absolutely. They can do whatever they want with it. Of course, the option is to move on with us if they wanted us to produce drawings, but there is no pressure whatsoever.
Right. Okay. And now tell me a little bit about, you said you let the community know. How did you let the community know? Get us into the nuts and bolts of launching this idea.
Okay. So we've actually done this for 2 years, and we'll be doing it again for the third annual in 2019. But during my first year, I was very grassroots about it because I was trying to keep my expenses relatively low. So I did what I did during my first week of business. I sent out emails and said, pro bono design services from FJI. If you're interested, apply here. And there was an application on our website. So I had to be pretty strategic, I think, about who I reached out to. So I was trying to think about who is that individual that would be moving into a new space, but already has maybe a food and beverage business set up at a smaller scale. And it was food truck owners. Oh. So I reached out to every food truck owner in the greater Phoenix area and sent them this information.
Now, was from the standpoint that you were just taking an educated guess that somebody that whatever percentage of food truck owners might potentially be also looking to be in a brick and mortar?
That's correct. Yep.
Huh. Yeah. That's funny. I would not have thought that. I would have thought, well, they're food truck owners because they're happy to run around in circles and sell their food.
And some are. That's true. Some are. But some actually did move into a brick and mortar. I also reached out to real estate agents and brokers, anyone that I thought had that first exposure with someone that would really benefit from pro bono design services. Okay.
And the point of having the criteria of newer or growing, tell me about, because you must have, you decided it for a reason. So there must have been some thought to, well, that diner has been there for 25 years and it could use a facelift inside and a refresh, but I'm not going to put that in the category of eligibility. Where was your thought process on newer or growing?
That's a fantastic question. So the reason I did this was because I wanted to thank the community that helped me in my very early days operating my business. And that's what felt closest to heart. So I wanted to, in exchange, help someone that was in the same position I was in. So very early on in the business, maybe didn't have the resources to pay for a designer or didn't have the knowledge to work with a designer. And that was it.
Okay. So that's interesting. So it was a personal connection to a fellow business owner that you have yet to meet, but is doing the same thing you're doing, trying to get their feet on the ground.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, for me, I was thinking I wouldn't have excluded the established businesses, thinking that they would be more likely to have the capital if they had the idea and could see what their place could be to go ahead and do the work with me. But I was not connecting the emotion to it for you personally. That's your personal emotion connected to it.
That's true. And it is evolving every year. So, I'm happy to make changes if they make sense year by year to grow this. Yeah.
Yeah. No, not one is good or bad. It's just your thought process. And the thing is, you have to be able to, it's a perfect example of, it has to be real for you. Right. And so if real for you was, I'm looking at you and you own a restaurant and you are 6 months, 1 year in business, whatever it is, and you need a foot up, a leg up, and I want to be the one to help you, then that's the thing that gets you through, 40 to 80 hours worth of work for no charge. You know what I'm saying?
That's correct.
Yeah. It's just what your own motivation is. Right. So, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's just that it's real for you. So I love it. Okay. And so now you send these emails out. And of course, in the first go around, do you get 3 people that say, hey, hand up, or do you get 50 people that say hand up? What happens there?
So I got somewhere right in between those two numbers that you put out there, which I was actually pretty proud for a grassroots
Yeah.
marketing approach. So that's exciting. Second year, which was 2018, I knew that I needed to reach a larger audience, so I actually had a PR agency help reach the community. So second time around, we actually got this published in a couple of newspapers and blogs and magazines that were local to the Valley that targeted the food and beverage industry.
Right. And I was going to go there and asking, did you do the whole involving, the Chamber of Commerce and the mayor's office about like, look at what this amazing lady is doing for our community, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Yes, I actually did. Yes.
Right, right. Terrific. I love it. Okay, so now how did you set up the criteria for judging? Because now this is getting, if you, especially as it gets to its second, third, fourth, fifth year, it can't be a popularity contest. It can't be, a guy who knows a guy. So you had to have, I'm imagining, set up actual guidelines that you could judge the winner by so that you had your integrity.
Yes, yes. But because it's relatively young, I didn't want to create too strict of a criteria. What
Mm-hmm.
I did instead was I reached out to, let's call them local celebrities to the Valley, so chefs and food designers, and had them act as the judging panel that would determine who the winner is. That way I can kind of step back and say, all I'm asking is that you pick someone that contributes to the community. That was the whole purpose of this competition. So let's make sure we award it to someone that is very community based. And so we kind of, we had 6 judges come in. They talked amongst themselves. There was really no criteria to follow besides what I had shared with them, but they had an open discussion, which was fantastic. Exactly what I wanted to see. So,
Interesting. That is so cool. Okay, I love it. Well, and I love the idea that you removed yourself from the judging process. But
oh,
also, too, here's what you do. You go out and you find 6 celebrity chefs who also potentially might remember you and hire you to redo their restaurant someday.
there you go. Yes. See, there's so many great things that come out of this that are just accidental.
It's awesome. I love it. It's really very well done, very nicely thought out. It's good for you, Dala, and fun for you, right? It sounds like you really enjoy it.
Oh, we really do. I mean, it just feels good, right? You're getting to do what you love without pay, but it feels better in a way. It's very strange.
Right, right, right. And do you have so you've designed 2 so far, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So on one hand, it's on one hand there's quote unquote no client. But there is a client because you are having your same process meetings and stuff like that. But is it like not having a client in that you don't have to keep budget in mind, or do you still take the budget conversation in mind in the thought that possibly this restaurateur may execute the design? How does that work? Do you just design to the hilt, or do you design with a budget that they could possibly manage in mind?
Design with a budget in mind because we do, I mean, as fun as it is to dream up the most fantastic no budget space, it's not realistic. And we do want to make their dreams come true. And so we have to be as realistic as possible. So, I mean, a lot of the conversations we have, the questions that we ask are educational for them because they never thought about those questions. What is the budget? What is the timeline? Do you have investors involved? Is this your own funding? I mean, we try to help in all those steps in the process.
That's awesome. I love it. And of the 2 that you have awarded, did either one take the project to completion and have you execute it?
Yes. So the first one did. It's Freak Brothers Pizza, located at the Churchill in Phoenix. And the second is confidential right now, but they are in the process of reaching out to investors. So we're getting close.
Oh, nice. So the second one is interested in doing it and they don't have the funds themselves. So but what's interesting is it's one thing to ask an investor and say, when I invest in my restaurant, it's going to be amazing. It's another thing to show them what it's going to be. That's a more tangible thing, easier to get money, right?
That totally, yes. So we actually framed our concept to be geared towards those individuals that would want to to contribute to this concept.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. This is awesome. What a great idea.
Thank you.
Yes, really great idea. And so how do you, on a practical level, is the timeline based on your individual pipeline, or is there an anniversary established now that the contest, I think I saw online that the last contest applications opened up this past summer, and there's like a 6-week window or whatever it was that you had. Is that an anniversary, or do you wait and see what your pipeline is going to look like and you might do it whenever?
So we actually give them an entire year to once the Design It Forward is awarded to one of the applicants, they get a whole year to engage in our services. And then, of course, we have schedules that we have to work around as well. So we try to find a happy medium.
Okay, so no, I meant the start of each year's new contest. Do you do that on a schedule? So that happens, the opening for applications starts the same time each year, or do you do that based on your paid pipeline work?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Yes. So we will open up the applications same time every year, which is summer. I think it's about June to August.
Okay. Awesome. And then curious, you mentioned there, which I didn't expect to hear and I wouldn't have thought to ask, that the person who wins has a year to engage with you to go ahead and have you execute. Is there a reason why you have a year deadline on it?
Well, if I am to do it yearly, then I need to make sure that there's no overlap, because it does take a lot of time commitment outside of our billable hours. So I just try to make sure it's scheduled accordingly.
Okay. I think I'm missing you again now. So I see. The winner has within 1 year to work with you to do that concept plan 40 to 80 hours. Okay. Yes. I took it as after they have their concept plan, they have 1 year to decide to hire you. That's different. No,
that can happen at any time.
Right. Understood. Okay. That makes total sense. And that's a great criteria that I had not considered. You can't win and then hit me up 11 months later for, okay, let's finally sit down and have concept phases because I'm going to be starting the next winner by then.
That's correct.
Perfect.
Correct.
Oh, that's a great thought. That's a great forward-thinking thought. I hadn't considered that. Okay. It's these little nudgy things that you have to really think through, because I guess sometimes they happen by not thinking them through and there's a mistake and you go, I can't do it that way. Right?
Yes. And I'm still learning. I mean, this year we came across an instance where the client asked, is a revision a part of this?
Oh.
And I was like, oh gosh, I did not even think about that.
Right. Because you're sort of like, I made it for you free. Take it or leave it. And so I could see the answer. I'll ask you what you said, but I could see the answer to that being, as part of the contest, there is not. But if you decide to engage our firm to execute, then of course, yes. So what did you do?
Gosh. Well, that's what I should have said,
okay.
Luann. But this was honestly one of the most exciting projects we've ever worked on. I mean, it was so much fun that we wanted a couple more hours to make those minor revisions to get them to where they needed to be.
Okay.
But they did engage us in remaining phases. So I guess it's a win-win.
Yes. Well, you could always have it as part of the official rules that there is not a revision included if you don't engage us. And then on a per basis, if you're really, like you said, having a great time and you do, all right, I'll give you one revision. You know what I mean? You don't have to, there's things that you can do for people of your own volition for free. Obviously, you're doing this whole thing for free.
True.
But you got to watch, because there will be the person that will take advantage of you. So you have to be prepared for that.
That's true.
Yes. Okay. What a great concept. What an awesome idea. It seems like it really fills you and your soul and your joy for design, but also returns and gives back to the community. And it serves as a pipeline builder for you. I mean, that's a win-win-win.
Yes, it does.
Very cool. Love it. And so you had, I think, one more step that you attributed to getting your business off the ground in a big way in your first year. What was the last step? Dala?
Yes. Okay. So I read a book earlier this year, actually. So I didn't implement it until 2018, called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right.
Yep.
And I think you actually had someone cover his strategy on your show.
Yep. We had Michelle Williams on episode number 180. Michelle Williams is the principal of the Scarlet Thread Consulting. She's a business consultant specializing in interior designers and window treatment professionals, and she is a certified Profit First coach.
Yes, that's fantastic. So I won't spend too much time, obviously, talking about the strategy, but essentially what it says is it flips this formula that we've known forever that says take your sales, subtract your expenses, and what's left over is your profit. This says, well, hey, you started the business for a reason so that it would work for you. So how about you take your sales, you subtract your profit, and then whatever's left over is how you operate your business. Those are your expenses. And so I think it forces you to operate at low expenses, and you have to really get creative and think about how you can keep those expenses relatively low so that you and your team members get paid adequately for the work and the hours that we put in.
I believe in this so much, this Profit First. And what's funny is, and I've shared it on the show before, when I came to Profit First because I heard Mike on somebody else's podcast. And so I was very intrigued by the idea. I thought it was amazing. I started to listen to his podcast a little bit here and there and did the same thing. I got the book on Audible and listened to the book. And then I researched who was a Profit First coach that could come on the show. And of course I was like, oh, hello, Michelle Williams, who I already know, that's been on the show before. And what was interesting is I remember having this, everybody knows that I am not intimately involved with the business build, the bill side of our business with the expenses. Mm-hmm. And you know what, I'm intimately involved in understanding where our profit and loss is, what our net margins are, where our net profits are, and things like that. But I don't execute it. I'm not the one on a daily, weekly, monthly, or even yearly basis that the buck stops with them. We all know my husband takes care of that. And so how he actually manages the money is a bigger picture conversation, which I dip into sometimes, but not daily, okay? I'm much more involved in looking at each individual sale of each individual salesperson and finding out if we're being profitable there. And so the thing is that I come to my husband, I'm like, you got to see this idea of putting money into different bank accounts and blah, blah, blah. And he just looks at me. He's like, you know, Lou, we've had 3 bank accounts for 30 years. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, wow. So he's ahead of the time.
Exactly. He just instinctively did it. I was like, oh, well, aren't you just so smart?
That's great. It's such a good disciplined way to, honestly, for small business owners too, that don't have accountants at their luxury or, you know, an in-house accountant or a finance coach. Right. You can just look at your account and in a split second make a decision as to whether you can afford something or not. Right. And I love that.
Right. Exactly. It's so true. And the other thing that I love is the getting paid. In a lot of the one-on-one coaching that I do with interior designers, one of the first questions that I ask them usually it's, do you know how much you made last year in gross sales or year to date and net profit? That we have to start there, right? Do we know this number? If we don't know it, can we get to it? And then one of the other questions that I usually ask in the very beginning of the relationship is, did you take a salary? Are you taking a paycheck? And I have to say, the answer is all over the map. And even once we start looking at numbers and we figure out that there really isn't a lot of profit there to just start writing a check. I don't care if you take $50 a week, honest to God. I really don't. You have to be in the habit of paying yourself, of understanding that this is a career. This is a job. This is not a hobby. And anything that you just, oh, well, you know, I didn't take a paycheck this week and I didn't get one this month. Oh, but I paid my groceries with it instead. That's not the same. That's not valuing yourself as this is what I get up in the morning and do. And I also think, Dala, you tell me what you think, but I also think that if you know you're going to write yourself a check on a salary basis every single Friday, whether it's for $50 or $500 or $1,000, isn't it a little different the way you go about your day on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Oh, 100%. I agree with you on that. So that's actually one of the first things I did was set myself up on payroll.
Right.
So I am an employee of the employer. It's very odd,
Right.
but I am one and the same person. But what that does actually for me is I realize that what my business makes is not what I make.
Right.
And that's a huge realization, and it actually motivates you to increase your profits so that you do place yourself in a position where you're getting paid what you choose to pay yourself.
Exactly. And I think too, to build on that, it's exactly what you're saying, just to build and clarify on it. To me, what happens is if I'm coaching a designer and that designer knows that we've established that without jeopardizing their business, they can write $400 a week. Okay. This is not huge dollars. Okay. This is a reasonable amount of money just to pat you on the back and say it was worth getting out of bed. And we're striving for writing a check for $2,000 a week. Let's be serious, right? That's where we're going. Okay. $2,000-$3,000 a week is what we want to strive for. But even if it's $400 a week, my feeling on it is if you know on Friday you are going to write a check of $400 out of your bank account, your business account to you, then on Monday when it's, should I sit here and make my dialing for dollar calls, or should I go to spin class? Or I have a consult that I've told the customer's paid me for a 1-hour consult, but 2 hours later I'm still putzing around in her house and I'm not going to get paid. It's sort of like, but if I keep wasting my day away, where am I going to make that money so I can write that check on Friday? Right?
That's
it just
correct.
makes you more accountable to this is a business.
Yes, absolutely. And then when you have employees you have to pay, oh gosh, that's another stress in itself.
That's the truth, because you're responsible for them. It is. And it's so funny because also interestingly, I was recently working with a designer and she is struggling with, is it time to hire? And when we went through what's happening in her business, there's no question it's time to hire. I mean, on paper, in reality, she's got so much work and so busy, and she's spending so many of her hours doing work that does not need to be done by her. And the ultimate was, but I'm a little afraid to do it. And I said, oh, sweetie, you're a lot afraid. We're all a lot afraid every time we take somebody on. We are responsible for that person. I said, if you're waiting to not be afraid to hire somebody and be responsible for them, you're never going to hire, because a good person with integrity and thinks about their business and their employees is always going to be afraid, right? It's how can you not? You're now responsible for someone's paycheck. Yes,
that's true. And I actually felt that for a while before I hired, and I reached out to one of my mentors who was actually a member of the mastermind group and asked her, she runs a pretty profitable business, has over 30 employees. I said, how did you know when it was the right time to hire that first individual? And, from a financial standpoint, she said, you need to make sure that you have at least 3 months of expenses in your bank account for projections. That puts you in a comfortable place. Right. And I thought, okay, I can go by that. That's a hard number that I can go by.
Well, and isn't that great, right? Because it is something that you can manage. Because here's the thing, like what I said to this designer, you're never going to have this little feeling in your stomach like, no problem, let's just hire somebody, I'm not at all worried about it. It's like, unless you're a psychopath and you don't have that little conscious part of you, but to have an objective bar where you can say, I have 3 months put away of all my expenses, of the salaries, blah, 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 blah. Let's do this. And then then what happens is you have to be intentional. You have to, and that's what I think it does. Not only starting with, and that's really what it is. It's almost like training. When you start with paying yourself, and this is a non-negotiable, I am getting paid, it starts that training and that daily exercise of, it actually matters everything I do today. I cannot blow something off.
Yes.
Yeah, because it gets you ready for when it is the responsibility of other people. It's like, okay, what are we doing? What did we do today to make money? What did we do today to create new business? What did we do today to get our name further out there? And so you can't just, well, I'll skip that till Thursday.
That's correct. Yes. Then you start hustling.
That's it. And it helps if, you have little built-in rewards, little built-in goals that you reach. We have monthly sales goals at WindowWorks. We break them down. Usually what'll happen is Kimberly will usually pop up at around the 18th or 19th or the 20th of the month. And she'll say, okay, everybody, this was our monthly sales goal. And that means for the remaining days of the month, we have to do X amount of dollars every single day. And then she'll stick that number up because we've had the monthly goal up, but then she'll stick that daily goal up. And usually one of us at around 2, 3, 4 o'clock will say, okay, where are we at on the daily goal? Who's got somebody they can dig up? Who's got a proposal out there that they can do a callback on? Who's got a proposal that they haven't put out on the street yet? What are we doing? And it's so fun.
I love that. And I love that because there's transparency. You're getting everybody at your company involved and accountable for that bottom line.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Can I share something about that I just implemented literally 2 weeks ago?
Oh, good. What?
So I have some pretty major goals that I'd like to hit for the first quarter of next year. And I promised my team, although this is all on me, I just need them to keep performing as they do. But if we hit our numbers by the end of the first quarter, then we are all taking a trip to Australia for design inspiration.
Holy crap. Are you kidding me?
I mean, the reason we're doing that is every time we pull inspirational images, we find a perfect photo and we're like, wow, where is this place? And it's in Australia. So I think we just need to go and see all of this in person.
Goodness, that's amazing. I could see that as a year Met goal, but a quarter Met goal?
I'm aiming big. Wow. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone.
Good for you. Oh my goodness. I'm having a little heart palpitations for you.
So am I.
Well, I hope that the goal that you set includes enough profit to pay for that trip for everybody.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's amazing, Dala. That is a really cool goal. I love that goal.
Thank you.
Ay, ay, ay. Well, I'll tell you, along those lines, I'll share what I learned from Chad James. I was in Chicago in October of 2018, and I led a panel discussion with Chad James and Candy Scott. They're two previous guests on the podcast. And one of the big ahas that I learned from Chad James that came up in that discussion is that we have our cost to be number open at WindowWorks. So we know what it costs to run our business every month before we make one dime of profit. So all of our operation expenses, our salary, trucks, insurances, all of that stuff, that until we hit this number in sales, we have not turned a profit. Okay. And so, and that is obviously, that number is very different from our sales goal number, right? It's considerably lower because we're shooting to make money, not just break even every month, right? And so we know that number, our employees know that number, but what was interesting is the spin that Chad put on it is he has his expenses, his monthly expenses number. It's essentially the same number, just a different way of describing it. And what he does is he says to his employees, for every month that they don't spend the threshold of their expected expenses, they all get one extra paycheck.
Oh.
Yes. And he said that in 2018, that so far they all had received 8 extra paychecks.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, that's
Isn't
great.
that amazing? Yes.
Right? I love that. I love that. I'm going to put this in my memory bank and use it when I have more expenses that I need to be more cautious of.
I know. And it's, for a company the size of mine, it's a significant number. And the same with Chad. It's a significant number, your expense base. And so I thought it was fabulous. So great lessons, great tips. I love it, Dala. So intentional and really so happy for you that you have achieved your success. And so you're just building from here. You're just going to take this and just keep blowing this up.
Thank you, Luann. I appreciate that.
Yes, really awesome. So I have to say, you'll need to check in with me in a year or two, because I wouldn't be surprised if your 3-person firm, if it's your desire, will be 5, 6, 8-person firm. Of course, it may not be your desire. Your goal might be to just keep being more profitable and getting tighter with your systems to make more money for yourself and keep it at the 3-person firm. But I know my point is, I know that you can do whatever you intend to do. And that's really awesome for you.
Thank you for that boost of confidence. I mean, it's the best way to start my day. Thank you.
That's it. You get a hashtag smart lady, Dala.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing everything with us.
Of course. And thank you for putting together such an awesome, awesome podcast.
Oh, thank you. So pretty fantastic, right? Like I said, Dala runs her firm with clear strategies for building her client base, for managing and motivating her employees, and for making a name for herself and her firm in the community. And how about that little calling for a full week, every single day, all day long, every single person she knew in the industry, to share with them the news that she opened a new firm. Pretty incredible, right? And the thing about that idea is, it's not rocket science. It's a pretty simple idea. But remember what we've said here on the show before. Don't ever make the mistake that simple means easy. That was a big effort to make all those calls, and even more of an effort not to call 4 or 5 one day and then just never get back to it, right? So often we hear about things like this and think, oh, what a smart idea. And that's it. You just go about your day. Right? What a smart thing to do. And then that's, you don't take action. Maybe 2 months from now, you'll be like, oh, that's right. So the thing is, I'm going to challenge you right now. If your pipeline is not full, make your list and start making your phone calls. Okay, now maybe you don't have a week to put aside, but you have an hour every week to put aside. So this week, put an hour aside making your list. And then next week, start 1 hour making the phone calls. Because like I said in the show, the time is going to pass one way or another, okay? And I don't want you to kid yourself and say, oh, I can't do that because my business is already started. I'm already in business. I should have done it when I opened the way Dala did. No, this idea works whether you're in business 2 years or 20 years. Honest to God, there is no expiration on an idea like this. Now, if you are in business several years, however many it is at this point, maybe the conversation is a little different. But how about this? I wanted to call and share with you that 2019 marks my 3rd anniversary in business, or my 15th year in business. And I'm taking a moment to call all my friends and colleagues that have been a part of this journey with me. You happen to be one of those people. So I'm going to just tell you, if you got a phone call like that from a wallpaper installer that you know, or a subcontractor or whoever, would you hang up with an opening like that? Would you rush them off the phone? No, you would not. You'd take a minute to congratulate them. And even if they call to say it's their 1-year anniversary, right? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be a 5 or a 10 or a 15, okay? But you would take a minute and you'd say, oh, that's so awesome. Congratulations. And then you know what? You have a little chat. Who knows what else comes up? Maybe one of you finds out that you've got an idea to collaborate with the other one. Or maybe one of you says, oh, do you know what? I didn't think about this, but I could refer so-and-so to you. Okay? So, you just don't know what will come from it. And if nothing else, it's just a fun phone call to get. Think about that. If you have trouble imagining dialing the phone, picture you getting that phone call. Picture it. Picture, a plumber that you hired for a project 4 years ago calls you up and he just says to you, this is my 5th year in business and I'm just taking the time to call some of the people that I've worked with throughout my years in business and thank them. You're just going to smile. There's nothing bad about this. This is not an icky cold call, but it is something that could result in new business for you. Some way, somehow. Something, okay? So there's no excuses not to do this, all right? And when designers like Dala tell us what they did, you can tweak it. So maybe you're not going to call and say exactly my idea or her idea, right? But the point is to do something, not to wish for business to come through your front door, to go out and make the business come through the front door. Okay. And I also love her Design It Forward. Oh my goodness. What another great idea, right? It gets her awareness in the community. It helps her build relationships. It helps her build a reputation in the community, and it helps her build her portfolio. I mean, that's a slam dunk. I mean, and that's something you could think about on your own. How could you tweak that idea if maybe you're not a restaurant designer? It doesn't matter, right? That's the thing. Just take this and let it build, let it germinate, and see what you can do to tweak it to be your own. All right? All right. So what are you going to do to build your business this year? What are you going to do? I have an idea. I have another idea for you. If you're interested, you could come to New Jersey in March 2019. You could join me for the launch of my second book, The Things I Learned from a Well-Designed Business, the Power Talk Friday Experts. You could meet all 12 of my co-authors there, and you could meet all 12 of the interior designers that are going to be there presenting as well. And you could be right there with us for 12 live podcast presentations, because that's basically what we're going to do. Now, I'm not recording these for the podcast. You have to be there, okay? But it would be like if I'm sitting there, me, Nancy Ganskaufer, and an interior designer, and the three of us are on stage, and we're talking about charging what you're worth, okay? So you get to sit there just like you are sitting where you are now listening to me, except that you're going to see it live. I'm going to do exactly what I do on the podcast. I'm going to have a conversation with one of my co-authors and one interior designer, and there's going to be a finite topic for each of us, each conversation, and I am going to do just what I do here. We're going to talk. We're going to pick it apart. I'm going to say, wait a minute, back up. I don't get it. I'm going to say, do you mean this? And then I'm going to look at you and say, and this is how you could do this in your business. And here's a way to, take this idea and run with it another way. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And then, of course, we're going to wrap all the fun around it, right? We're going to have the networking, and we're going to have our meals, and we're going to have our wine, and we're going to, the vendors are going to be there. And so it's going to be outstanding. And if you are listening to this podcast in real time, it is Tuesday, January 8th, 2019, and today is the very last day for the early bird sign up. Right now, the 2-day ticket is $395. The VIP ticket for the third half day is $200. Tomorrow, the general admission 2-day ticket is $595. The VIP stays at $200. So if you're thinking of coming, stop thinking and start doing. All right. And the good news is even if you can't make a commitment to it today and you do decide to do it down the road, it is worth every blasted penny of the $595. I promise you that. Okay? So here we are. What are you going to do today? What are you going to do to decide to be excellent? You got a lot of ideas from this particular show. You sure did. So I hope you pick one and I hope you execute it. All right? Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.